First of all, congratulations. This was such an interesting watch. Uh, how difficult is it to make a movie like this where it's just you and you're taking control of this movie and you have to captivate an audience all on your own?
Uh, it was probably one of the biggest challenges I've ever agreed to undertake. And I think early on in the pre-production process, I hadn't really acknowledged just what I'd signed up for. And throughout the course of rehearsals, we rehearsed for several months leading up to actually shooting. It started to sink in, the reality of it. And I think the more it sunk in, the more the fight or flight instinct that it's like, okay, well, you could call this off, or we could, it's not too late. You can still dip out. But in those moments, I think I just doubled down and acknowledged to myself that I was going to have to prepare that much harder, and did so.
Uh, Um, Knowing that this was going to be a task for you, why did you decide you wanted to be a part of this movie?
I loved the script. I loved the central themes at the core of the story of human connection and what it really means to be human and connect with other humans. And I think in a bit of a selfish way, I was a little seduced by the challenge of, I like to take on things that are going to force me outside of my comfort zone and force me to test my grit and prove my merit, so to speak.
Mhm. Uh, Talking a little bit about that, what was it about the script that took you out of your comfort zone, other than the fact that it's just you on screen for about an hour and a half?
I mean, that was a big part of it, was removing all of the safety nets that typically come along with most roles of getting to play physically off of other actors and the space that you're in, and not having the space you're in just be essentially a sterile gray box. And then beyond that, I think that there was a lot of interesting things for the character that I saw readily on the page, as far as the complexity and layers of him that would, throughout the course of the film, start to come to the surface, that I think for a film like this are necessary, because otherwise you just have a grunting soldier who's just getting tossed around. But I think the beauty of the story is what comes to the surface is the human element, and when he's forced to kind of shed that mortal skin of the who we present to the world and face himself and his fears and his past. That was what really kind of hooked me and drew me to it.
How much after the pandemic did this take place? Because I would be thinking that, if it happened almost right after, it would have, continued that isolation feeling that pandemic put us in.
When we actually shot it, we shot it during the pandemic, which I think, if anything, just capitalized on all of that. That here we are living this bizarre, some would say almost borderline sci-fi existence and reality. And now let's go make this movie that is just almost a doubling down, or a manifestation of the bizarre surrealism that this experience feels like.
Definitely. And portraying a soldier is never easy, and this seems like you're dealing with a lot of traumatic different elements to his psyche. So how does that affect you as an actor?
It was definitely a learning experience, and one that I'm grateful for. I interviewed a lot of veterans and did quite a lot of research, almost on a daily basis. And the gift of this experience for me was, getting to embody this fictitious character that in a lot of ways is representative of a lot of real people that were afflicted, both during the Gulf War and post-Gulf War, and veterans in general. And it's something that is a cause that, while I was aware of, I don't think I truly appreciated the ins and outs of just how diminished wartime PTSD, or how mislabeled it was, um, throughout our history up until post Gulf War, when soldiers circling back with Gulf War syndrome were later finally diagnosed to actually have wartime PTSD. And that was something that was very eye-opening and moving, and I'm just happy that we were able to find a way to incorporate that into the story under a microscope.
You've seen this movie with an audience. I was at the Lionsgate screening last week. How
Thank you for coming.
for you? What uh, what were you looking for as a reaction from the audience? Because what I saw was shock, enthusiasm, just like a lot of different emotions coming out from people. What were you looking for?
I think that the trills and thrills are always a hope and expectation, especially with a movie of this genre. But I think beyond that, what I and we are really hoping for is the underlying heart of this film to be conveyed, and these themes of us being stronger together, of human connection, of us being able to overcome our past differences and aches and pains, emotionally speaking, together. And I think that is a message that, while it was apparent on the page, really came to life and became more obvious to us as we were shooting it, as this, oh wow, this movie is so much about so many other things than we really gave it credit for. And that came out as we were making it.
Definitely. And was this shot in order? Because you have to steadily progress his emotions and his mental state throughout the process. I would think that'd be difficult if it wasn't shot in order.
Luckily, it was shot in order, and I don't know how a movie of this size could be done any other way. We had 15 days to make the film, which is next to no time. At least half of what most movies are made for time wise. And then beyond that, there's so much continuity that would have been impossible to track as far as SFX makeup, because as you know, I'm getting pretty beat up the whole time. So just needing to be able to clock that progression of his physical makeup, and then just everything else in the room. And we had 4 different iterations of the set. Each one could do sort of different things that we were constantly kind of bouncing back and forth between. But as you know, having seen it, the room is still obviously changing, and we needed to be able to just all be on the same page for production design, makeup, wardrobe, and all of that. And I don't think we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking if we had tried to shoot it any other way.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for your time. I think you guys succeeded in your mission, and this is such an interesting watch that I hope it gets a good audience.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.